The second day of December. Winter had arrived on the island kingdom. The brooks were frozen, the small forest animals had grown thick furs, and the air was crisp. It was early morning, and the fresh snow had fallen during the night. The sleigh, carrying the prince and Chloe, dashed through the forest towards the Blue Palace. The sleigh came to a halt in the courtyard. The Blue Palace had not been inhabited for many years. The windows were shuttered, and some of the bricks had fallen from the chimneys. The prince and Chloe climbed out of the sleigh. "Are you certain this is what you wish, your highness?" Chloe asked. "Yes," answered the prince. He removed the compass from his pocket and opened it. The face was inscribed with 24 pictures, one for each of the 23 palaces, and one for the castle to be found in the kingdom. Chloe slowly wound the compass until the needle pointed to the Blue Palace. With a sigh, he snapped the compass shut. The Blue Palace began to fade from sight. Soon it was gone, as though it had never been there. Chloe shook his head and turned to the prince. "Your highness, is it absolutely necessary that we proceed with your plan to make some of the palaces in the kingdom disappear? These are palaces that have been in your family for generations." "Most of the palaces are empty and old, Chloe. I don't like old things, and I want to build a new, modern palace and have you make all the old palaces disappear," the prince said. Chloe scratched his head. Had he heard the prince correctly? Had the prince said he wanted all the palaces to disappear? "Yes, Chloe. I want you to make all the palaces disappear. Not just some, but all of them," the prince replied. Chloe grew silent. The prince had tricked him. If he had known the prince had planned to make all the palaces disappear, and not just one or two, he would never have made the magic compass in the first place. And while he pondered this thought, another concern grew to him. "What about the nieces? Where will they live if you make all the palaces disappear?" Chloe asked. The prince began to laugh. "I'm too old to believe in fairy tales. There are no nieces." "No nieces!" Chloe bellowed. "No nieces? How dare you say that?" The prince stopped laughing. "I dare because I'm the prince, and if I say there are no nieces, then there are no nieces," he said, folding his arms across his chest and turning his nose skyward. Chloe knew it was useless to argue with the prince, but he had to protect the nieces, even if the prince didn't believe in them. "But, your highness, you have no experience building palaces. What if your creation fails? Where will you live if all the other palaces have disappeared?" Once again, the prince began to smile, only this time it was more of a smirk than a real smile. "I've drawn up the plans for the new palace, Chloe. You and your magic will build it. It will not fail." There was nothing left to say. The prince and Chloe climbed into the sleigh. The silence between them was as chilly as the morning air. From beneath a bush, the niece, Tandra, watched the sleigh as it sped away. Tandra had traveled through the burrows that connected all the palaces in the kingdom. She had come to the Blue Palace to gather some holly berries. When she saw the sleigh approach, she had hidden behind the bush. Nieces did not like to interfere with humans. They were shy, and they liked to keep out of sight whenever humans were near. Tandra heard everything the prince and Chloe had said. She had even seen the Blue Palace vanish. "Balto won't be happy when he hears this news," she said, jumping into the burrows and heading homeward. While Tandra was hurrying through the burrows to the niece palace, Balto and Clipper were busy cleaning. The niece home had to be spick and span because Uncle Pendulum was coming to visit in a few days. Balto opened the small windows and nodded to the sunny day. He took a deep breath of fresh air and then returned to his chores. He unlocked a cupboard and carefully removed a large book. It was the niece handbook. It held the answers to all the niece's questions. Very old and very fragile, it had been in the family for generations, passed down through the ages from mother to son, father to daughter. Balto carefully dusted the cover of the book and then locked it away in the cupboard again. As Balto turned the key in the lock, Tandra climbed through the trap door in the floor that led to the burrows beneath the niece palace. She was huffing and puffing. "Tandra, why are you so out of breath?" Balto asked. When she caught her breath, she told Balto and Clipper about the magic compass and the prince's plan to make all the palaces in the kingdom disappear. And then she told them about the prince's plan to build a new palace. "Why does the prince need to build a new palace? There are already 23 in the kingdom." "There are only 22 now," Tandra corrected, and under her breath she added, "plus one castle." "I think a new palace is exciting," Clipper said. Balto and Tandra exchanged a worried look. Balto, I think you better explain to Clipper what this means, Tandra suggested. Explain what? Clipper asked. Clipper, I know you think this is all very exciting, but it's very bad news for the Nices. The prince plans to make all the palaces disappear, including the Nice Palace, our home. It protects us from what, Papa? Balto had no choice. He told Clipper about the trolls of the glen. The trolls live in a castle on the far side of the kingdom, in a place known as the Glen. Trolls don't like Nices, because we guard the Nice Handbook, and the trolls want the Nice Handbook, Balto explained. Why? Clipper asked. Because it is full of secrets, and the trolls always want to know our secrets, Tandra said. Luckily, the trolls can't find the Nice Palace or the Nice Handbook because we keep it under lock and key. The trolls can't find us or the Nice Handbook because the Nice Palace is invisible. Invisible? Clipper said. Yes, Balto said. The Nice Palace is invisible to trolls. As long as we are within the shadow of the Nice Palace, the trolls can't find us or the Nice Handbook. Every day the trolls stare into their vat of boiling milk, looking for the location of the Nice Handbook, Tandra added, and every day they hope to catch one of us if we leave the safety of its shadow. But Mama, Clipper cried, the trolls must have seen you earlier today at the Blue Palace. The shadow of the Nice Palace doesn't reach the Blue Palace. When I traveled through the kingdom, I used the burrows and run beneath the palaces. The trolls can't see anything that travels below the surface of the earth, said Tandra. Clipper listened carefully to the story his parents were telling him. He found the trolls even more exciting than the prince's plan to build a new palace. Papa, if we go to live at the prince's new palace, won't he protect us from the trolls? Balto and Tandra exchanged another glance. I'm afraid not. The prince doesn't believe in Nices. He can't protect something if he doesn't believe in it. Well, we'll just have to find a way to stop the prince, Clipper said. I think there's a way, Tandra answered. Pendulum is the finest watchmaker in the kingdom. He'll help us. How can Pendulum help us? Clipper asked. The magic compass is made from springs, levers, and latches. Pendulum can fix or unfix any mechanical device. He'll be able to stop the magic compass, Balto explained. When Pendulum comes to visit us, we'll tell him about the magic compass. He'll help us. Tell me more about the trolls, Clipper said. We've already said enough, Tandra whispered. If we let the trolls walk around in our thoughts for too long, the Nice Palace begins to lose some of its invisibility. Don't think about the trolls anymore. Your curiosity will attract them. And that was that. There was no more discussion about the trolls of the Glen that evening. And as night descended over the kingdom, the Nice family ate their rice pudding and got ready for bed. At the royal palace, the prince had fallen asleep, with the drawings for the new palace spread out upon his lap. Clo was snoring in his library chair, exhausted with worry over the safety of the Nices. And in the distance, the whistle blew as the train, with Miranda on board, chugged towards the royal palace. Miranda had fallen asleep from the gentle rocking of the train. She would be home by morning. And somewhere in the kingdom, 2 trolls were also sleeping. But talk of the trolls can wait. Until tomorrow, good night.